Seng Index dives the most in 6 months as market sentiment falters. Town Planning Board greenlit the rezoning of Ngau Tam Mei, freeing up 130 hectares of lands for a university town. And in the city's largest commercial property deal since 2021, Alibaba and Ant Group will pay $7.2 billion for new office spaces in Causeway Bay. Good evening, you're watching Cable News. I'm Evelyn Bai. As risk aversion sentiment grows in the markets, the Seng Index fell by over 600 points today, marking its largest single-day drop in 6 months. For the week, the benchmark index was down nearly 4%, extending its losing streak to a second consecutive week. Jeremy Zhu has more.
Regional banking issues in the United States have sparked market concerns, driving capital into safe haven assets like U.S. Treasury bonds and gold. Spot gold prices have hit another record, approaching $4,380 per ounce. For the week, the yellow metal has surged over 8%, becoming the first ever global asset with a total market value exceeding $3 trillion. Meanwhile, Hong Kong equities faced significant pressure, falling for 2 straight days. The Seng Index opened slightly lower, down 36 points. And the losses continue to extend throughout the session. The sell-off intensified towards the close, with the index plunging as much as 706 points to a low of 25,145. It finished at 25,247, down 641 points, or over 2%, with a turnover of $314.6 billion. Chip makers led the decline, with SMIC tumbling 6% to fall below the $70 mark. Technology shares also faced heavy selling pressure. Alibaba fell 4% to a 1-month low. Meituan hit its lowest level in over a year. The sell-off extended to smartphone component makers, with BYD Electronic down 8%. However, some gold jewelry retailers bucked the trend, with Chow Tai Fook surged to a 2-year high. Jeremy Zhu, Cable News.
The Town Planning Board has endorsed a government plan to revise the outline zoning for Ngau Tam Mei, a critical constitution of the northern metropolis, with officials pledging flexible development strategy designed to future-proof key facilities, including a university town set to host the city's 3rd medical school. The revised plan will now be gazetted for public consultation. Kun Ting Yang has more.
The revised blueprint organizes the 130-hectare project into 5 key areas: a university town, residential zones, a new railway station, and a comprehensive teaching and research hospital. Over 40% of the currently rural land is poised to become the university town, envisioned as a dynamic hub bridging academia, research, and industry. Approximately 10.5 hectares are allocated for residential use, primarily for a dedicated resettlement estate and high-density private housing. An additional 12 hectares will accommodate the planned Ngau Tam Mei Station Depot, a mixed commercial residential development and public open space. Presiding over the meeting, Board Chairman and Permanent Secretary for Development Doris Ho underscored the strategy's adaptability. Rather than relying on rigid zoning, the government will use land leases to control plot ratios and uses, a nimble approach that allows the plan to evolve with the city's future needs, according to Ho. Kun Ting Yang, Cable News.
The city has recorded 451 flu outbreaks in schools since the academic year began in September. A physician anticipated an upward trend, urging people to get flu shots early, wear masks, and refrain from infecting high-risk individuals. Among the 451 school flu outbreaks, 244 occurred in primary schools. In less than 2 months since the new school term, the health department has already logged 9 severe flu cases in children and 1 pediatric flu death.
Taking
to the airwaves, family doctor Edmund Lam, a member of Scientific Committee on Vaccine Preventable Diseases, noted that COVID-19 has disrupted the flu cycle. With outbreak cases rising in the last 2 weeks and many people not yet due for their next jab, Lam urged public to get vaccinated as soon as possible. He pointed out that the transmission process often involves children infecting the elderly. Since last month, nearly 150 citizens have died from flu infections, with 90% being aged 65 or older. In addition, he also prompted the authorities to plan for next quarter's jab scheme to close the gap in case residents decided to get injected at an earlier time. Talking with iCable News, Dion Chen, chairman of Direct Subsidy Scheme Schools Council, said some schools are considering accelerating the rollout of vaccinations for students due to the early outbreak of flu this year. However, concerns from parents about potential discomfort affecting their children's learning after flu shots need to be taken into account. With Guangdong motorists soon to be allowed to drive into Hong Kong under a new permit scheme, Transport Secretary Mabel Chan has pledged to thoroughly consider lawmakers' safety concerns and suggestions. Jeremy Zhu reports.
The southbound Travel for Guangdong vehicle scheme is expected to accept applications next month, with the first vehicles anticipated to enter Hong Kong in December. Under the plan, approved cars from Guangdong will be permitted to enter the city exclusively via the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge. Drivers can apply for either border parking or access to urban areas. A daily quota of 100 vehicles has been set for travel into urban areas, with each permit allowing a stay of up to 3 days. Speaking at the Legislative Council, lawmaker Michael Tian suggested allocating special parking quotas at popular tourist spots, such as Disneyland. He added that he had consulted experts and believed it was technically feasible using GPS tracking. In response, the transport chief said the authorities had already discussed the idea with Disney and received a preliminary positive response, adding that the initial 100 urban quotas could be used for these theme parks and attractions, and that the government would deeply consider whether to increase the number later. Meanwhile, legislator Gary Zhang, who is also an engineer, raised concerns that the popular self-driving cars in mainland might pose safety hazards, as their autopilot systems were not trained using local data. Chen addressed this by stating that the authorities would not approve any autonomous vehicles under the scheme. According to Chen, the government is also in talks with the hotel industry to offer special packages for Guangdong drivers. Future increases to the urban quota will depend on a review of various factors. Jeremy Zhu, Cable News.
U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin have agreed to a new summit within 2 weeks or so in the Hungarian capital Budapest, their second in 2 months, following a lengthy phone call where Putin issued a stark warning against the United States supplying Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine. The announcement came just as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is set to plead for the weapon at the White House. Kun Ting-yang reports.
The planned Trump-Putin meeting was set after a nearly 2.5-hour phone call last night, which Trump described as very productive. Though the exact date was not settled, Trump expressed optimism about replicating his success of brokering a Gaza ceasefire in Ukraine. The summit, reportedly proposed by the Kremlin, came amid heightened attention after Trump earlier expressed a willingness to provide Kyiv with Tomahawk missiles, a long-range weapon that could strike deep into Moscow. Putin warned Trump during the call that such a move would inflict significant damage to U.S.-Russia relations and jeopardize peace talks. Trump later acknowledged Putin's opposition with characteristic bluntness.
Well, of course, what do you think he's going to say? Please sell Tomahawks? Is he going to say, please sell those Tomahawks? I really appreciate it. I did actually say, would you mind if I gave a couple of thousand Tomahawks to your opposition? I did say that to him. I said it just that way. He didn't like the idea.
The bilateral talks overshadowed Zelensky's visit to the White House, as he has intensified push for the missiles, arguing that Putin's sudden willingness to engage in dialogue signals Moscow's fear of enhanced Ukrainian capabilities. However, Trump hinted at reluctance, noting we need tomahawks for the United States too. We can't deplete our country. Quentin Yang, Cable News.
In Greece, a government-backed bill has been passed by the parliament, allowing people to work 13 hours a day for a maximum of 37 days a year, despite fierce objections from opposition parties and trade unions. Jeremy Zhu reports.
Since the Greek government introduced the new bill, various trade unions have organized 2 major strikes this month, with public transport employees also joining the walkouts. Demonstrators believe the new law leads to gross exploitation and severely damages workers' rights. The bill was passed on Thursday, with the government stating that the reform is not mandatory, only applicable to private sector, and is limited to a maximum of 37 days per year. The authority also defended it as a modernizing reform, making the labor market more flexible and efficient, and insisted it aligns with European Union's regulations. The opposition left-wing Syriza party has condemned the move as a legislative monstrosity, pushing the country back to a medieval workhouse. They argue that with Greece already having some of the longest hours and lowest pay in Europe, the law will make it even harder for workers to make ends meet. According to Eurostat data from last year, the average working hours in a week are already around 40 in Greece, higher than the EU average of 35.8. Jeremy Zhu, Cable News.
In a massive vote of confidence for Hong Kong's commercial property market, Alibaba Group and Ant Group have acquired the top 13 floors of the One Causeway Bay Tower for approximately $7.2 billion, marking the city's largest office deal since 2021. Quentin Yang reports.
The tech giants announced the purchase today, confirming weeks of market speculation. The transaction will see the companies relocate their Hong Kong headquarters to the premium office space that Mandarin Oriental is building in the city's bustling commercial core. Alibaba Group Chairman Zhou Cai described the acquisition as fully embodies the group's confidence in Hong Kong's economy and business environment, affirming that the company will use the city as a key base for growing its international operations. Meanwhile, Ant Group Chairman and CEO Eric Jing echoed the sentiment, committing to increased investment in Hong Kong to attract top global talent. The companies currently lease 10 floors in the nearby Times Square, a tenancy set to expire in 2028. The deal is a bright spot for the city's office market, where rents have been declining. Analysts view the major purchase by leading tech firms as a potential sign of market bottoming and renewed investor interest in the city's real estate. Quentin Yang, Cable News.
On to the weather now. Mainly fine, 1 or 2 showers in the morning and at night tomorrow. Very hot and dry during the day with a maximum temperature of around 33 degrees. That's our news tonight. I'm Evan Bai. Thanks for watching and good night.